Good evening, and what is up, Razorback Nation, Razorback family? It's finally here. It is game week for college football. Yes, we had some week 0 games yesterday, but it is game week for your Arkansas Razorbacks. We'll dive into a little bit of our thoughts on going into this season. You know, as you've been with us on this journey of going through and breaking down all these position previews, we'll kind of give you your final thoughts and sum up, our thoughts after going through all these positions as we get getting ready to go into the season this week. And then we'll jump into our preview later in the week on Thursday as we get ready for the game this week. But before we get started here, can't forget to thank our friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good, never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand, bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere between. From high-quality hats to head-turning high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Found right here at home and now run by a Razorback loving family. Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us. Guys, it's finally here. How are we feeling about it being game week and college football is finally back?
Yeah, man, I was pretty excited on Saturday. I missed most of the first game in Ireland. I got to see the end of it. But I did get to watch a few games. Like I watched Kansas against Fresno State and Hawaii and Stanford. And let me tell you, those games weren't the greatest, but I was pumped for the entire thing because I'm just excited.
Right?
Right. It's still football. It's still back. And I'm shaking with excitement. It is awesome.
Yeah, I don't get excited as much as other people watching other teams play than the Hawgs. So my excitement level isn't as high as everybody else's, but it's cool to have football back. I'm more of a, if I want to watch everybody, I'm more into NFL fantasy wise with that. But college football, of course, it's going to be all watching the Hawgs at 3:00 Saturday. I'm all locked in to see who takes the field for the team. I believe everybody's going to play in that one. So I'm excited to see everybody we've been talking about for the last few weeks.
100%. And a big thing for me, too, Saturday, college football related, not necessarily Razorback related, but as a football fan, if you didn't know, this Saturday is going to be the great Lee Corso's last game day appearance on College Game Day. They had a special on ESPN the other night, talking about Lee Corso, titled "Not So Fast," his catchphrase. That if you know anything about College Game Day, that's his favorite catchphrase. And it kind of really, with us watching college football, growing up in college football, you grew up with Kirk Herbstreit and Lee Corso and those guys on every Saturday morning. And for it to be Lee Corso's last Saturday on College Game Day, it's going to be a little bit weird come Saturday.
Where is it?
It's where Ohio State, man. Where are they?
Yeah, it's the Ohio State Texas game.
Yeah. So what's crazy is that he could start with the Buckeyes, putting the Buckeyes on the headset on, and then also end with it on the college. What do you call it? College Game Day. That's poetic, right? And it's going to be weird not having that anymore because they're not going to replace. They're not going to replace him with the headgear and everything like that. So they're going to find something else different. They're going to go and find something new. I imagine Pat McAfee is going to be at the center of that because whenever he came on, he kind of reminded me as a replacement for Lee Corso to begin with. So it's going to be a sad thing to see, but he's been there for 30 years. He deserves to have a little bit of rest. So it's sweet, but it's bittersweet. So it's just, I don't know how to feel. You got me all my tongue's all twisted talking about it because that is, like you said, it is childhood. I remember waking up and watching them put on the Hog gear when they were here for that game against Tennessee. The only time they've ever been in Fayetteville, by the way. That's just, I don't know. It hits you in the feels.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, you grow up watching them. So to have somebody go away that's been there forever, you don't know anything different. So it's going to have a different feel after this week. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. So my wonder is, when will they come back to Fayetteville? Like you said, only time it's been Tennessee game. I know it ain't coming back anytime soon unless we have a crazy start to the year. But yeah, it's a legend that's gonna live forever.
Yeah, I will say, if you haven't watched that little short kind of honorary show that they did the other night, go back and try to find it and watch it. It's really good stuff. It kind of goes through all Lee's career, from when he was coaching to when he first started College Game Day, before it was truly College Game Day, and how it evolved in his process, and kind of essentially creating what is now College Game Day, all the way up until, having a nice, like, little tribute video that they had him go to the theater at the College Football Hall of Fame and sit there and watch everybody kind of let him know what him and his careers meant to them. And then you see, Kirk Herbstreit has the last message at the end. And, those two are really tight. Kirk's really done a lot for him the past few years as he's gotten up in the age. So it was really cool to see that. And it's going to be a weird thing going forward after this Saturday, not having Lee Corso and his headgear picks every Saturday.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Pat McAfee comes up with, right? Because he does have a very good way of playing with the crowd. I mean, that pick for the Georgia-Alabama game a couple of years ago was the funniest thing. I don't know if you guys remember it, but he was out there doing the Georgia chant.
Song. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he stops. He gets the whole crowd to do it, and he stops and he said, "Now let me take Alabama to break all of their hearts," or something like that. And I mean, it was gold. Like, if he would have stepped off the stage that moment, he probably been put in the hospital. I mean, they're pretty crazy about that. So that was pretty ballsy.
Oh, I remember whenever the last year whenever they went to game day was at Tennessee, and he jumps off stage. Peyton Manning's on stage. He jumps off stage, runs down there, and he conducts the band playing Rocky Top.
Yeah, I mean, he's a
going to be full of antics. So I think that was the whole idea of them bringing him on, was kind of, hey, we're losing Lee. We've got to kind of bring somebody on that's brings that the fire and some antics on there, because you got Nick Saban on there, but you're not going to see him do any crazy things like that. So yeah.
Also, let's just say that the Nick Saban and Pat McAfee dynamic is one of the best things in sports. To me, it's up there with like Shaq and Charles Barkley, because they are so different. They are so different, and somehow it still works.
That show's not even around anymore. So
yeah, which is
Shaq and Charles ain't gonna be. I mean, I don't know what they have going on. What TNT's going to do this upcoming season, but yeah, I mean, Pat McAfee, they're paying him all this money. I'm sure they're going to use him. So that was probably
give me more Pat McAfee feeding Nick Saban a steak.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, that's some weird stuff. It never in my wildest dreams would I thought I would ever see that, but there you go. Random Saturday morning.
Right. So yeah, we're getting ready to kick off. So that'll be this Saturday. So tune in and watch if your College Game Day, and see the last episode with Lee Corso. But as we shift back into Arkansas sports, Arkansas soccer had a match today where they took on Georgia Southern, a game that was rescheduled due to some bad weather down in Georgia. So they moved the match here. Arkansas wins that 2-0 earlier today. Ranked number 13, one win, one loss, and one tie on the season so far. And it's just going to continue on. Arkansas was picked as one of the top teams, or the top team picked to finish in the SEC. So they'll be back in action this Thursday versus Duke at Razorback Field, where they're going to have a striped jersey giveaway. So get out there. It's going to be on SEC Network Plus as well. So get out there and continue to support these girls as they continue to make another run this year like we always see them do year in and year out under Kobe Hale.
Have y'all tried the new ESPN app yet?
No.
Mm-mm.
I heard it
The
looks
ESPN Unlimited stuff.
Yeah, the $30 a month, basically getting all ESPN and
No, thank you.
You know, yeah, exactly. That's what YouTube TV's for. Like
Exactly.
so. Plus, they get all the other channels. So
Right.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we finished up all of our previews last week with our special teams, kind of talk through everything. Questioning to you guys, after going through this, kind of diving in deep for each of these position groups, going through depth, things like that, does your thoughts on what the season could be change from before we went through all this? Do you have any maybe different predictions? Does it change your kind of win-loss ideas that this Arkansas team might have by the end of the year after going through all these position groups and talking about them? Does that have any effect on your thoughts on how this season could go?
me personally, I feel the same way just because the schedule hasn't changed. It's still the same. Everybody wants to put a number on win total. Oh, we need 8 or 9 wins to have a successful season. And my thoughts are always where you're going to put a number on it. We don't play the same schedule North Carolina plays. Come on now. So let's be a little real. And last year we lost to a team we shouldn't have lost to, Oklahoma State. We beat a team we shouldn't in Tennessee. So hopefully it's a different story this year with beating teams we're supposed to. We beat all the teams we're supposed to, and then we shock a team or two. So I feel confident we can pull an upset at home. My upset's been Notre Dame all along. I feel strongly that we can beat them. Notre Dame has never been scary to me ever. Even with Brady Quinn and all those guys in the past, I've never feared Notre Dame. Now they're running. They have a really good team and a good defense, but it'll be a close game. But I think we can beat them if we're healthy at that point. We got two kind of easy games in my opinion, but then 2 rough games on the road. So hopefully we're healthy and not banged up when it comes to playing them. But they've got a tough stretch there to start the year too. Notre Dame does. So I feel like that's the game we can steal. The game I'm worried about is the stupid game that we scheduled. That's right before that. That we have no business traveling to Memphis and playing them. No SEC team other than Ole Miss. And the reason I say Ole Miss is because they have a little bit of rivalry and they're really right down the road from them. Should have to play at Memphis. That's just how I feel about the schedule in general.
Yeah. So I'm to that point. Notre Dame probably does have a harder beginning schedule than Arkansas does. So that is definitely something that we're going to have looking forward for us that they're not going to. But as far as having a different opinion, I don't remember exactly where my mind was before we started this. However, I know I wasn't exactly high on the Hawgs. I probably had them going 5-7 or 6-6. But after fall camp, the receivers have surprised me, right? The stuff that I've been hearing from them that has my hopes a little bit higher. I think the defense, if they can be competent, which under Travis Williams, I have no doubt they can. If they can make it to where Arkansas can win shootouts, I think Arkansas might surprise some people. But with that said, I'm probably going to stick with like a 7-5. It is probably, I'm being a little cautious here,
Which is
but
really
a little bit
good season.
optimistic. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It could be better. But there's games on the schedule that people are counting Arkansas out in, and I'm like, I don't know why. Like Texas A&M, why are you counting them out? It's always, a bare knuckle brawl with them. Yeah, and it's in Fayetteville for the first time in like 15 years, 12 years, something like that. Yeah. But like Auburn, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, those were three at least that are winnable. Ole Miss is winnable because of how early it is in the season with a brand new quarterback over there. Yeah. So, they're not. It's not, impossible for Arkansas to have a good season and still have a not so great defense. But we don't know. We'll have to see how the secondary matches up with SEC wide receivers after the first, 2 conference games. Then we'll talk.
Yeah, 100%. I kind of on the same boat as you, Austin. Going through, I was a little nervous going into, before we started all of our previews, and kind of as we went through it, it's made me a little bit more optimistic looking at the season. Just with seeing some of the depth we have. Talking about the receivers, getting the news out of fall camp, especially like how good Mike Washington looks like we could have a big 1-2 punch in the running game with Mike and Braylon. I'm ready to see the development that Talon has, we've heard about. He's really worked hard this offseason and all this stats, and it's the year 2 jump under the Petrino system. I want to see what that's going to look like and how successful he can be in this offense with these players around him. And like you said, if the defense can just do enough to where if this offense can be as good as we think it'll be and be a traditional Bobby Petrino offense where defense can come up with 1 or 2 key stops where this team can score enough points, it should be an interesting season. And I feel you there on talking about this schedule. I don't know why we're being counted out of some games. The big one to me, like you mentioned, Ole Miss, early in the season, new quarterback. Teams are still, especially with new quarterback like Ole Miss will have, with this being his first start in his college career, is they're still trying to find their groove, maybe what type of plays and scheming and things like that work best for him. Whereas you have Talon Green under year 2 of Bob Petrino, where you'd think by week 4, the offense is starting to get in rhythm, starting to hum a little bit, starting to put up some points. And then, there's a world where you're realistically looking at Arkansas coming back to Fayetteville to take on Notre Dame at 4-0. And then,
sorry, continue.
No, go ahead.
I was saying if they come back and they're 4-0, I'm just saying, like, I'm gonna be crazy on this podcast because I just don't see Arkansas going 4-0 through this. I know it's just like Ole Miss and Memphis, but Arkansas is, that's a hard thing to do. Go to Ole Miss and then go to Memphis. It's going to be tough. But if they do, and let's just play devil's advocate for I guess not devil's advocate. I don't know what you want to call it. But if we go into this Notre Dame game and beat the Irish and start off 5-0, that it's going to set the world on fire. At least the state of Arkansas on fire, because I don't know what to do with my hands. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be insane. And it's very possible because, like you said, Ole Miss is, it's early, new quarterback. Memphis, it looks scary, but it should be a win. And then Notre Dame, they might be beat up by the time they get to Fayetteville. Who knows?
Yeah, Notre Dame's starting a new quarterback as well. So, they have a 2-headed monster running back. Both one's going to definitely be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft this year in Love. The other guy, I'm not sure if he's going to be draft eligible or not this year after this, but I'm sure that he's going to be a high pick as well. So their 2-headed monster running back scares me a little bit because I am questioning. The defense is still a question mark at this point. But then again, to that point that I just made, the secondary is what lost us games last year. They probably lost us 2 or 3 games. Ole Miss, they definitely lost us a game. I swear it was every play of number 11 was running wide open what did he catch, like 3 or 4 touchdowns that game?
Yeah.
Just ridiculous. So, but yeah, so that's why, they brought in a bigger secondary. We'll see if it pans out. But yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. The defense is what's going to dictate all of this. I think the offense is going to be just fine as long as Taylor stays healthy, and our running backs. Washington is what we think he's going to be out of fall camp and stuff. Looks great. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out.
Yeah, Joe says maybe I'm crazy, but I'm in on 8 wins.
Hey, if the ball rolls the right way, we get off to a hot start, stay healthy. It's very possible, but
yeah,
we got to avoid those games like we tend to happen. Like you said it. So the Arkansas way, we have the game in our hand and we just blow it. So we'll see.
Right. And it goes back to just like we mentioned that Oklahoma State game last year. You cover the score and you show me the stats from that game.
I mean, yeah.
Arkansas wins by 20, if not more. But, Arkansas did the Arkansas thing, shot themselves in the foot, and that's what happened. So hopefully this team can kind of not deal with that this year. And, it is possible. So kind of as we talk about the players, for whatever you want to consider a quote-unquote successful season.
Real quick, sorry. It could be worse. I've got some buddies of mine, Mississippi State fans, Chase and Mike, texting me saying that they're Mississippi State fans, obviously because I live here in Mississippi, but they're saying they probably won't win 4 games this year. So could be worse,
True.
So
True. So, looking at it, we've talked about all these players, and whatever in terms of we say is a successful season, but who, in your guys' opinion, give me your top 3 guys that are going to be critical to Arkansas having a successful year this year. Whoever wants to go first.
I'm going to remove Taylor Green from the situation because he's obviously the number 1 guy, right? So I'm going to give you my next 3. The first one I think has to be Xavier Story, right? He's going to be the backbone of this defense. He's going to lead a group of guys who are most of them are vets. I've been in the SEC or not in college football for at least 2 years, and he's got some talented young guys behind him too. Absolutely, the best, probably the best position we have on the field as a whole. The second one, and this is kind of stretching, is Cam Shanks. And it's not because of what he can do as a wide receiver. It's about what he can do as a punt returner. And what was the problem that we had last year against one of the things was Oklahoma State, what we were talking about a second ago. Muff punts, stuff like that. We beat ourselves. A lot of it had to do with the special teams. And I think if Cam Shanks can do what he's supposed to do as a punt returner, that could help Arkansas tremendously. And the third is going to be Corey Robinson the second. There's nothing more important than protecting Taylor Green's blind side, right? We got to have a good offensive line or it's not going to work. I could say any one of the, Raylan Sharp or Omega Blake or whatever, but as long as Taylor Green is protected, any one of those guys could flourish, right, with Bobby Petrino's offense. So you got to have a guy like Robinson to protect Taylor Green. And that really goes for most of the offensive line, but especially him because that's what he was brought in here to do, was protect his blind side. So I think I was a little bit, out of the box thinking with Cam Shanks, but that was probably my 3 guys that need to really step up this season.
Hobbs?
Yeah, so like you said, Taylor Green's the obvious one. I think when you look at the defense and offensive captains, like I mentioned in one of the other shows, we go as the 10s go, Sorey and Green. Those are kind of the two obvious guys that you think, they're the backbone of the team. If they're not performing well, it's going to be hard for us to have a successful season to begin with. But if you talk about just 3 guys that just need to come out of nowhere and really be a contributor to this team to have a successful season. I think I like what you said about Shanks. That's a huge threat when it comes to special teams. And even in our college football dynasty, he's been a really, really big key to my success for year two. He's just gotten better and better. But and that's just catching the ball too. He's been a good receiver for me. So I'm interested to see how they're going to use him as a receiver too. But yeah, I think you have to point Mega Blake out. I think if when you have a receiver that led the SEC in receiving yards, go to the NFL, and then you have another one get drafted in the third round in the NFL draft and lighting up in the preseason with Detroit, you have to have production replaced there. And I just think this receiving core, like Austin talked about earlier, is very sneaky. They're really good. Omega Blake is the guy that's going to really just put his name out there. I think this guy is special. I can't wait to see him and Taylor Green together. And I have to go with Mike Washington too. The stuff we've heard about him, staying healthy is a big key. I know last year our backs got banged up. Jackson was out, couldn't really, he got banged up a lot. But if Washington is the guy we think he is, I mean, if you just look at a picture of the guy, like he looks like he's ready to just play on Sundays right now. That's how built this guy is. So I really think he can handle the SEC workload. So Braylon Russell, I'm a little, he's not the guy, another X factor for me, but he's not another X factor. I'm worried about, can he hold up for a season with his weight? I know he dropped 10 pounds or whatever, but we'll see. He looked very slow to me last year. And then I have to point out a defensive guy that we've heard so much about in Quincy Rhodes. You had Landon Jackson, first-round pick for Buffalo last year. Was he a first-round pick? Am I losing my mind about that? Second round, third round. Austin's muted.
Austin, you're muted.
Man, I coughed a minute ago. He was two picks after
Tesla.
Isaac. Yeah.
Okay, so he went third round. Okay. All right. So when you look at Quincy Rhodes, he's the guy that a lot of people have talked about. I think that he's got the potential, the size to be that kind of X factor on the edge there. So we've got to be able to get to the quarterback in this league. Because you already mentioned offensive lineman, Austin. I'm going to mention offensive line, so I'll just take the other side of the ball on the defensive line. You got to put pressure on the quarterback in this league to win. So I think he's a big X factor there. And there's other guys on that line that you can point to too. He's not the only one. And I think I've already named three at this point, but I've got to shout out my boy Scott Starzik too. I mean, I think he's going to have the potential to win a game or two for us. I think it's going to come down to him making a huge kick to upset somebody at some point this year.
Yeah, 100%. I like those names, and kind of like Austin said, trying to not go with the obvious with like your Taylor Greens. But yeah, I kind of echo what we said about Xavier Sorey. I mean, you're going to need him to be a big leader in that defense. But, if you're talking about a guy needing to step up, like you were saying, Hobbs, another guy that you could mention that I'm excited to see because he's got flashes, he's got the talent, the size, is Ian Giffard on the D-line. We want Quincy Rhodes to step up, but, don't let that overshadow what the talent you have with Ian Giffard. He's going to have to play big this year. Everybody really on that D-line is going to have to step up with the lack of depth that we've talked about there. And then, just that secondary in general, a guy to me that I think we need to see more of this year. We talked about it in the episode. We talked about DBs. James Singletary, he came in high talent out of Georgia, and we just haven't seen it yet. I think he needs to be, and hopefully is ready to have a big year this year and kind of be a leader in that secondary, because you've got a lot of new guys, a lot of young guys. And so he's one of the guys that has, been there, understands the system, and hopefully can help lead this defense, especially that back end, and what we just talked about that kind of got shredded and diced last year when you played your teams like your LSU, your Ole Miss teams that like to be pass heavy. they struggled. So hopefully, those guys can contribute there. And then, on the offense, I think, it's like you said, Hobbs and Omega Blake, who's going to step up and be that next go-to guy for Talon. It was Andrew Armstrong last year. He's gone. You lost Isaac Tesla, who made some big plays last year. Wish you could have gotten more involved. But, so this year you've got a lot of receptions to you got to replace. And so, somebody's going to have to step up. And, we've heard all this hype about Omega Blake that he struggled a little bit in spring. Petrino came out and said after, over the summer, really dove in the playbook, picked up things, and has really kind of started to turn the corner at the beginning of fall camp, and then said going into these last few scrimmages has really looked good. In the last scrimmage, I think they said, he wasn't targeted as much as they would have liked him to. That's just kind of how the progressions went as Taylor was making his reads and things. But he said that he's going to be a guy that's going to be big for this team in terms of getting him the ball and playing a part for this offensive success.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I just said the reason why I didn't pick any receivers for me is because it all starts with that offensive line, right? If Taylor Green can't throw, then the receivers can't catch. But I would say I would put him in there with it too. But here's one that we were kind of thinking he was going to be a bust, but I've heard some good things about Courtney Crutchfield over the last couple of weeks. By the middle of this season, he could be a good receiver for Arkansas. Whether or not he makes a starting a role by the end of the season, I don't know. But he could be a good factor too. And the thing is, you also have Raylan Sharp, Cam Shanks, Monte Harrison, Antonio Jordan, C.J. Brown. I mean, you have a lot of guys who have impressed.
Is it Cece? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yes,
Ismail Cece.
Yeah. Is he out for the year, or has he got a timetable to return?
Yeah, no, Pittman said he's going to miss the entire year.
Most likely.
Oh, that sucks.
Maybe, depending on, I don't know, his healing progress and recovery goes, maybe you can make those last handful of games. And, maybe it's not worth it and can get an injury red shirt and come back next year. Oh, I think he'll be back either way, but, get that injury red shirt and maintain some eligibility too.
Yeah.
But as we look at it and jump into, some of the comments here, it's like Angel says, players say they're comfortable with Blackstock at defensive tackle. I mean, we talked about that last week, how, Blackstock was moved to the defensive side of the ball, meaning Kobe Branham's going to line up there at your right guard spot. And then you got Amarian Harris for now at that tackle. Could be Shaq. Who knows? We'll see. But, if that's what players are saying, that's fantastic. Said that, maybe he's not missing a beat. Like we said, it's taken, or as Austin said last week, it's taking some of that thinking out, whereas maybe you're not having to focus on thinking, what's my assignment here? Who do I got to block? If there's any reads, it's just, hey, snap the ball. I'm going after quarterback. So, or trying to make a play on the ball type of situation. So maybe that's easier for him and he's picking that up, and, maybe it'll turn out to be a smart move by this coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. It is in the running game, at least, on the inside. If you just fill up your gap and you take up space and blocks, then you're doing the job and you're letting your veteran linebackers do the work, right? That's kind of what defensive tackles do. That's why they don't have a lot of sacks. That's why they don't have a lot of tackles when you look at the stat sheet. It's because they're there to force those running backs to go into the hole that the defense wants them to go to. So maybe he could do that, but whenever you start talking about pass rushing and, outside schemes like outside zone or sweeps or anything like that, where you have to really move laterally or vertically fast, I'm a little bit worried about it. But I don't think he's going to be starting there, because you can't just go and, start after being in the position for a week. So
you can against Alabama A&M.
Well, he's not going to start. It'll be Jafar
and against
Ball, but still, it's I don't know. It's
Yeah.
fun to think about. We'll see how it turns out once the season starts. But
Yeah. Johnny Jones says here, read that Nussmeier got hurt. Yes. So, back late August
early August.
early August, he not injured, but aggravated what they're calling a patellar tendonitis from a previous injury that he had. Brian Kelly down there did confirm that it's not anything serious, that it's a pre-existing condition, chronic tendonitis. So, that might be something to watch out throughout the year, as we kind of get into the meat grinder that is the SEC schedule. If he starts taking some hits, I know they've got a lot of new starters on the LSU offensive line. If he starts taking some hits, how does that knee hold up over the season? If it's already been kind of aggravated early in camp. So that's going to be something to monitor. Johnny Jones also says Shaq will fall in line for the offensive line when it cools down. We'll probably see him and Imari and Harris battle through the first, few games. They're probably both going to get reps there because, you have kind of an experienced guy with Marion Harris has been around a few seasons. Got a lot of start playing time last year, and then a Shaq that's just got tremendous talent and a lot of upside, really young guy. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out, over the course of a full season. It's like Angel says, I still want to see the offensive line. I agree. He says, especially if we hit those big defensive lines like LSU, that's what's going to be key once you get kind of through that first initial part of the season and you dive into the SEC schedule where kind of everything ratchets up a notch or two. How do those guys hold up? So it's going to be interesting for sure to see how that pans out. That is one thing I am curious about to see, what does that O-line look like going into the season and, solidify, how soon do things get solidified if they haven't already. It's like Angel says, if things get dicey, I would put Carmona on the right tackle, Kobe and Harris with Robinson.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're moving.
I don't know if you want to put Carmona at tackle. I'll be honest with you. I think
Angel does say Talon runs to the right a lot.
Yeah. I think he's more suited for
right-handed quarterbacks do.
Yeah, you're gonna roll out to your right dominant side.
Right. But I wouldn't put Carmona at tackle. I think he's a more of a guard. I mean, we've talked about it already. Whenever you're looking at the next level, NFL tackles have longer arms than Carmona, and which is one of the things I brought up. He just doesn't look like he has a body of an offensive tackle. He looks like an offensive guard, and I think he'll do fine. And now, if you have to switch him to the right side, that's one thing. It's whatever. But I think what their plan is to have Marion Harris, whoever, if a guard gets hurt, for him to go switch with one of them, and then have Shaq going at the right tackle spot. So either way, I think they're fine. The only one that really worries me is if what's his name? If either Kittler or Robinson go down. Because if one of them go down, I don't know who you put in behind them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'd almost say with Kittler, I'd almost think, you're probably going to see a guy like maybe Brooks Edmondson that, played center last year for the bowl game, got some experience there. And, they also said that they've been high on the freshman that has center experience as well. And so, you got a couple guys there. Hopefully we're not talking about that as an issue. But, yeah, I agree. Hopefully this offensive line has the depth if, kind of knock on wood, if something does happen, we're prepared for it. But I'm excited, you guys, because it's after seeing what some of the offensive personnel said, that last press conference we had with Petrino, and seeing them feeling like they're much further ahead than what they were last year. He feels good about how Talon's been progressing, how these wide receivers and guys have been progressing. Something I have got the feeling from that is that, I think this could be a season where we see a decent amount of run from Monte Harrison, and I'm excited. Talk about a good storyline to catch the college football world by storm is this 30-year-old wide receiver out there making plays, not just kind of every now and then, but he's starting and getting a lot of run with this offense.
Yeah, if you don't see him Saturday, then I start to worry about, hey, you may not see him.
Right.
But if you're not seeing him Saturday, then you definitely, it's kind of like, oh, where is he?
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things about this whole offensive dynamic is you got guys as young as Antonio Jordan and guys as old as Monte Harrison playing for the same team and may have around the same role, and the cool thing about having a grown man out there in the run game is that he can block. And I mean, that's one of the things that they talked about is these guys are willing blockers. So I think one of the reasons why, Michael Washington looks so good is because our wide receivers can block. That's a big thing. And I know I didn't say Mike Washington earlier when we were talking about our three guys, but he's definitely one that I missed because Arkansas hasn't had like a dominant running back in a long time, probably since I don't want to say Jonathan Williams because he was with somebody else, right? There were two people. Alex Collins, yeah. Well, I was gonna say Alex Collins too, but
that was your 1-2 punch with Collins and Jay Will.
But even then, Alex Collins was the main guy. And then since then, it's kind of been by committee. And I guess Rocket Sanders too. Rocket Sanders had that 1 year where he had 1,000 yards. But other than that, I don't know. It just hasn't been the same lately. And I think he could be that next really hardcore number one running back for Arkansas.
Yeah, they haven't had that pro potential type back.
Right.
Alex Collins played with Seattle in professional, Baltimore. Jonathan Williams even played in the NFL a little bit. Now Davis with the Chiefs, they haven't had that NFL type running back and quite a little bit. And I'm not sure if they have it on this roster specifically, but I am looking forward to seeing how Washington does.
Well, and as you say that name, that's one guy that Petrino's compared Washington to is a Nile Davis type. He gives him, that comp, if you will. It's like Angel says, Washington has skills. But it's like to this other point is the synchronization and having a real center makes him feel better. And I agree 100%. That's what you didn't have last year. You didn't have a true center. You had a guy that came in, transferred in, hadn't really played center a ton. And then with Addison Nichols, and then he, as your center, isn't the absolute worst, but, you could tell that, throughout the entire season struggled at times with some snapping issues and things like that. So to have a guy that's played center is a true center, and hopefully that allows what Angel said, that synchronization of this offense, get off a better foot to start the year. And Washington has the speed, size, and skills that you like to see out of a running back. And maybe he's one of those kind of diamonds in the rough that, he kind of got overlooked at New Mexico State, kind of very similar to maybe how Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt, came out of New Mexico State, and then look at what he did last year. Had a pretty decent year with Vanderbilt, leading them to the upset of Alabama. So these guys from smaller schools sometimes just, they just need to be given that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of strange because he didn't do this at New Mexico either. I mean,
they were a committee there too.
Yeah, right. And I'm excited to see what he can actually do whenever he's going against a defense that is, I don't want to say for real because I think our defense can be good. But there's also
No,
Like,
you
yeah,
want to
live
see
game
what
reps.
he does when he takes a 2-yard loss in the backfield, gets destroyed by a defensive tackle, a defensive lineman. You know, is he going to be able to get back up and you know, let's see what you do when you get hit by one of these SEC boys once or twice.
And that's the thing last year with Jaquinton Jackson is that he also had some poor body language too. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's just you kind of have to, own it and not point fingers, especially when you're a running back. If you're talking about skill players, the running back is like the offensive lineman of the skill players because they are the lunch pail, get your hands dirty type of players, or they need to be efficient. And if you're out there complaining and pointing fingers, you're not that kind of guy. So if he can go out there and then battle through adversity without pointing fingers, I think he might be that guy for us.
Yeah, 100%. As my lovely wife likes to chime in here, she talking about Alex Collins. She said Alex Collins was the love of her life when she was at Arkansas.
Man, that's
coming in second here, but RIP at the end of the day. Unfortunate that we lost him so young, but yeah.
Who is the love of her life now?
Depending on the day, that's debatable.
Depending on the day. Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of optimism going into the season. I think you got to go into it that way. But I'm debating on bringing this up, and I'll go ahead and do it.
Oh boy!
Just because I saw it on social media last week, and things have gotten fired up about it. What's your thoughts on? I think it got started with the guys over at Barstool talking about John Gruden and Coach Orgeron teaming up here at Arkansas.
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know because it's the idea is so ridiculous, but at the same time, so was John Calipari coming to Arkansas. Right? At the time, whenever it came out, I'm like, no, this is fake. Get this off my feed. And it turned out to be real. So I'm going to play like it's a possibility. That would be super weird because you have two guys who are like really controversial too, right? Out off the football field. But at the same time, in their respective sides of the ball, are two probably one of the two of the best to do it, right? Defensively, Coach O is a good coach. Offensively, Coach Gruden is a good coach. As head coaches, I don't know if they worked out very well to get during their stuff. I mean, obviously Gruden won a Super Bowl, Coach O won a national championship, but they also found kind of fell off the cliff by the end of their careers, right? So it would be weird. It'd be weird. There's a lot of I don't even know because like you have the
weirder than bringing Bobby Petrino back after all these years,
right? Like, but the thing is, you also have like Deion Sanders out here playing, right? And it's gonna be like that, like with the personalities and stuff. But there's always gonna have that negative stuff that happen off the field, that comes up all the time. Yeah. So I don't know if you really want that baggage while you're trying to build up a program. But if you're talking about two names that are going to bring in some kids, it's probably going to be those guys. You have a national championship coach and a Super Bowl winning coach. Yeah, you're going to have a field day in recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked John Gruden, Ed Orgeron, maybe not as much. Remember that time Bobby Boucher went down to the Bourbon Bowl. That the water boy, that guy. That's how he reminds me of. So, in the way he talks. So, yeah, it just I don't know. That's all gossip and rumors.
At the end of the day, we currently have a coach right now.
That's what I'm saying.
We're not looking for anybody.
Yeah.
So
that's my point exactly. I was about to bring up. Let us play this season first before we start to say, oh, we need to get rid of our coach. I've never been a big fan of trying to fire a coach before a season's even started. And, we hadn't even lost a game yet or hadn't lost to somebody we weren't supposed to, so it's just one of the things where would it be cool to have a guy like Gruden and Orgeron here? Sure. I mean, that would make all three sports with legendary coaches, but but let's just pump our brakes a little bit and try to, put our faith in a guy that's still here, like let's cheer on the team that we have on the field right now. And whether you like the coach or not, the coach is here. This is what I bring up all the time about our hitting coach in baseball. He's here. And it is what it is. So get behind the Arkansas Razorbacks and stop looking at one little thing. You're Arkansas Razorback. That's just my point there.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good way to look at it. We currently have a coach right now. We're not looking for anybody. If it does come to the case by the end of the year and we're talking about, okay, things happen, whatever it is, and you're that point where you're looking at a coach, sure, let's have these crazy conversations and these hypothetical situations. But like Hobbs said, right now, Coach Pittman's here, and we're about to have kickoff for this season. And, all coaches are going to say they like this team, but he seems Coach Pittman seems very confident in this team compared to last year, and coming in and he feeling really good about this team, the improvements that they've made, the size improvements. He said we look like an SEC team size wise. We've talked about it in each of these position previews. So, I mean, at this point, there's not much else to say other than, let's watch some football now.
Yeah. Well, you touched on it a second ago. Pittman is confident, and it's not just more confident than last year. This is probably the most confident he seemed ever. Even the year we had we went 9-4. Like, I don't know what it is about this team that gets him like going, but like if you watched any of that footage from the Little Rock Touchdown Club, he's kind of been a spitfire type of dude lately. And I hate to bring it up because it was just a mistake by or a poor choice of words by that reporter the other day during the press conference. Daniel Shee, he's a good guy, so don't get mad at him or anything. He even went up and apologized with Coach Pittman and everything like that. But Coach Pittman's like response to it, like usually he'd be like, just like, what's going on? But he was like, what the hell are we doing here? Like he doesn't have those type of responses, and he just seems a little bit more lively. He's got that new hip. He's got, pretty much he has nothing to lose. Like if he does bad, what's he going to do? He's going to go hang out at his house on Lake Hamilton and enjoy retirement. He's got nothing left to lose. And I think he feels confident about this team. So I don't know, man, that it does bring a little bit more hope to me than it has in the past, because, we're talking about the coach that came into the press conference at the end of the game and said, I didn't know what to do. And everybody had a fit about it. And he puts his foot in his mouth a lot. He's overly honest. So this, I don't think it's a ruse. I don't think it's anything else. I think he really just feels really dang confident about this team.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say, just get ready to turn that damn jukebox on.
Yeah. I mean, you
just triggered a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, so you did. But yeah, like you mentioned, Austin, that point he made at the Little Rock Touchdown Club on saying, talking about being ranked, not ranked, things like that. He is like, yeah, if I want to care about what somebody that's never played it down in football before has to say, sure. But he is like, I'm coaching this team and I'm confident in this team, essentially. It makes you think a little bit different going into this season. And, hopefully we see a little bit more fire attitude out of this coach on, you've got your foot on their neck. Let's keep pushing down. and not let these teams back in these games and do the typical Arkansas thing. Let's, win the games we're supposed to, finish off teams, and, take care of business. And maybe this season could be a surprise and shocker for a lot of people.
Exactly. Like, you got to have a coach like that in this league. And we haven't had it in the last few years. Hopefully, this is I don't want to call it a wake-up call, but, a new leaf, I guess. He's got a new hip. He's got he's got two of the greatest offense, the coordinators in the country. He's got everything he needs to be successful here. So this is the put up or shut up year. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I wouldn't call T-Will one of the greatest in the country right now. Let's pump the brakes. They got to have a little bit better than the 110th best pass secondary before I start giving him more credit than that. But we'll see how they respond this year.
Fair enough. Yeah. But before we kind of wrap up and stuff, if you're not going to the game on Saturday, go visit our friends over at Parker Sports Grill in Fayetteville. They're the ultimate spot for Razorback fans, whether it's game day or just a night out. Parker's has you covered with mouthwatering burgers, wings, and ice cold drinks served up in a true sports atmosphere. With TVs on every wall, you won't miss a single play while you're cheering on the Hogs. So grab your crew, head down to Parker Sports Grill, and make it your go-to spot for food, fun, and Razorback sports. That's Parker Sports Grill, where Fayetteville comes to eat, drink, and call the Hogs. So if you're not going to the game on Saturday, go check out Parker Sports Grill on Weddington in Fayetteville. We've done a few live shows there before. Fantastic atmosphere, fantastic food over there. So go check those guys out. But as we get ready to wrap up here, guys, any further thoughts as we get ready for a kickoff this coming Saturday? And like I said, we'll be back on Thursday to kind of talk about, matchups, in terms of what matchups we might watch for Alabama A&M. Yes, it's Alabama A&M, but they're probably going to have a player or two that's worth talking about and kind of be a guy to just watch out for. But at the end of the day, it should be one of those games where, like last year with UAPB, Arkansas takes care of business. But anything else from you guys before we get ready to wrap up here?
No, man. All we got to do now is, like you said, it's time to watch some football.
That's it.
Let's get to Saturday. So we're going to wrap up here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you hit that bell. That way you don't miss any time we go live. Follow us across all of our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you call it, Blue Sky if you're over there. So go check it out. And, get ready to have a great beginning of the week. We'll be back Thursday to kind of break down more in depth this first matchup for Saturday. And then, hey, it's game week. We've got Razorback football this Saturday. So everybody get excited. We're going to get out of here. From Austin, Hobbs, myself. We'll see you guys on Thursday.